use that as a backup in case anything happens.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. Okay, ready now.
Ready.
All right. 1, 2, 3, record.
Okay.
All right. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Radio BrendoMan. I'm Brendan Creasy.
And I'm Phil Vecchio.
And this is our vacation episode number 1.
That's right.
And we have a special guest.
As you're listening to this, I'm off in the wilds of Montana.
Hopefully you're not dead.
I'm alive, definitely.
You're stranded
somewhere.
on an island somewhere.
It's going to be cool.
You get run over by a buffalo.
Moose.
They have moose up there?
I think they have moose.
All right. Well, we got a guest.
We have a special guest.
It's a friend of Phil's from Big Bear.
A friend of mine from high school and junior high even. This is Mr. James Schlarman.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think your history with me enables you to pronounce that last name perhaps better than any host ever could.
That's good. That's good.
Welcome to the show, James. And so you managed to escape Big Bear, is that correct?
Yeah. I have gone back to visit a few times, but I have managed to catapult myself out and not gone back to live since. So.
But Big Bear wasn't that bad, right? I mean, were you like totally anti Big Bear or?
No. I think like most kids, you know, when you get out initially, you're like really against it because you're like, freedom,
right. The whole world down the hill.
Stuff.
Right. And to this day, my wife still, like, I'll tell her, you know, stories about how when the Kmart opened and there was a line around the block and the high school band played there. I mean, it was literally, I mean, and what I tell her is like anything you ever see in like the movies about small town life is what it was like.
Oh, totally.
So, you know, but no, it wasn't. I mean, as I get older, I realized that there were a lot of advantages to living there, just the, you know, the security and everything. And
sure,
it's pretty neat when you can have the same group of friends, or at least, you know, contacts that for me anyway, I started going to school there in kindergarten and didn't leave the valley until I graduated high school.
Right.
So,
Same here.
Yeah, it's just, and you know, and they do that thing at the graduation where they like stand everybody up and then have everybody sit down as they, you know, they go further back. Like, okay, sit down if you were here since high school, since middle school, then you get back to kindergarten. And you would think there'd only be like a handful of kids, but there's usually like 50 or 60 or 70 kids.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know, most of the graduating class. So it gives you a connection there that, you know, you'll like be at Disneyland, you know, where there's tens of thousands of people. See a Big Bear person, like, Big Bear person,
right?
And you know, Flatlanders, you know, right?
I just heard that term yesterday, the other day for the first time.
We know. I mean, there's a whole nother world up there that, like, if you're up there, you think that's the world. Like, you'll appreciate this. I when I first went down to college, and I can't remember what it was, but I need to fix something, and I need to get a tool. I'm like, I was talking to my roommate. I'm like, let's go down to Riffenberg and we'll get the tool that we need. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you know, Riffenberg, the hardware store. So I thought that was like a chain that like everyone had.
Right. Everybody's got a Riffenberg.
Yeah,
right?
Riffenberg, right? And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You get late at night, right?
Yeah. They go on the teddy bear. So
yeah, exactly. You're right. It's a shorthand you have with
right.
And like you said, you forget. Yeah. So. Yeah, definitely. No, it's not all bad. It's not all good. It's like anywhere else, you know.
Yeah, small town.
And it snows a lot.
Yeah.
Now you've got a cool thing going on that you've been doing as of late, and we wanted to talk to you about some specific stuff that's going on. But tell us about the political garbage shoot and what that is to you.
Yeah. Well, so it's it started as, you know, I think like every blog starts, the angry writer. Washed up a failed comedian, you know, just trying to not go crazy, you know, in the 9-to-5 world. So squeezing out in the margins, you know, a little bit of just, you know, my view of things. And you know, I had just stopped doing sketch comedy and stand-up comedy primarily, and was kind of confined to an office lifestyle. And right at that same time, I had picked up a book by Paul Provenza and Dan Diamond, and it's called Satiristas, and it's got everybody in it from, you know, Stephen Colbert to, you know, his generation all the way back to the original pioneers of the form, and it was really inspiring to me, to sort of put a little bit more of a point behind the what I was doing, and it just gave me a little focus, and it was during the 2010 midterms, so there was all that craziness going on. So it fit my slant, it fit the way I went, and it was before Facebook was messing with the algorithm too much, so I could build a following, I sort of made just a little bit of a good following on my page, sort of just doing little op-ed, funny, sarcastic stuff. And then for some reason, I just kind of got burnt out after the 2012 election. And, when you're just kind of ranting your opinions and also trying to get some laughs in there too, it can be sort of depressing. I sort of get how, I had only been doing it for 4 years at that point, and I was ready to quit. So I can get how John Stewart could do it in such a much better form and for much longer and be like, yeah, I'm done. I'm tapped out,
Both of those guys seem pretty burnt out. And
they're doing it how many times a week?
Yeah, every day. Nuts. And then all the other stuff that they do.
Right. And it's depressing because it's all cyclical. You start to realize
you just keep seeing the same stuff
today are the same fights they were having 50 years ago. Literally. Yeah. And so you just start to feel like, okay, well, so this is all pointless, and we could be doing a lot more fun stuff, doing what they did in Star Trek. You know what I mean? I just wish I could move the Roddenberry path now, But so I was just starting to get burnt out, and I was like, you know what? I miss that sketch comedy aspect of it, and I was like, well, I can't really do sketches in this format, but I just started to just write straight satire. And I always joke that satire is dead because, I can't, one thing I hate is the satire warning, the satire tag that you have to give everything now.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about
you shouldn't have to do that.
No, it would, in our small town mountain, learning education we got in English class, the whole point of satire is it's supposed to lure you in.
Right.
You're supposed to not know, right? So I hate the satire tag, right? And even though I still, clearly define it on the page. So I just started doing satire, writing fake stories, as I like to say. And so I could sort of write these little mini, 600 to 900 word sketches, get that quick little thought out. I could get more done. And it was just kind of more fulfilling from a comedic level. And I wrote a piece where it leads up to this whole Snopes thing was I wrote a piece in May that went viral when the comedian D.L. Hughley shared it from his Facebook page. He's got over 1 million followers. So
right.
Even when they throttle his following, he still hits probably tens of thousands, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I wrote a piece. It was when Indiana and oh gosh, I can't remember. There were two states that both had these crazy, anti-LGBT laws at the same time. And for some reason, Texas had stayed out of the headlines for their crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay. So I just wrote a piece basically saying Indiana and this other state were bumming out Texas, that they were beating them in the biggest jerk state. I might have used a word stronger than jerk, but whatever. But basically, D.L. Hughley loved it, right? Oh, it was maybe it was Maryland. I can't remember, but it was just right at the same time. It was like two stories that you figured would come out of Texas came out of two different states. Mm-hmm. So the whole thrust of it was that Texas was bummed out that they were losing, so they were going to start being even more crazy. So D.L. Hughley loved it. He shared it. It sort of just kind of bubbled me up to the top, and I got the first taste of what it's like when something kind of goes viral, and for days and days people kept hitting it. And so I was like, well, that's cool. And every day when I write a piece, I'll share it on the Daily Show's board because people go to that board and so they see it. It's just one of those things you learn guerrilla publishing, I guess, right. How to like advertise without paying money,
Yeah.
And so then I don't know, jump cut, whatever, to the next month or just a couple weeks later, all the floods in Texas started happening. And I just got the idea. I don't know. I get a lot of my stupid ideas just as I'm waking up, as I'm getting into the shower.
Time.
That's my best thinking as well.
Yeah, right? I heard at one point that George Lucas came up with a lot of the good stuff in Star Wars in the shower.
It's like
either in the shower or on the toilet, anything in the bathroom.
No, the prequels were in the toilet. We're obviously in the toilet.
Yeah, obviously.
but I can imagine the shower.
Midichlorians.
That's exactly. Oh, anyway, sorry. I have a sycophantic obsession with dogging the prequels.
Oh, this is half our show.
Yeah, we've done that.
Don't get us started, or you'll be here for a while.
No, listen. Just on a quick side note, and then we'll get back to the snow story. But on a quick side note, I learned a very early parenting lesson early on with my first son, when I set a precedent that you cannot watch the prequels.
Phil's doing the same thing.
No, but here's the thing. It's like any other. It's like anything else. If you hide it away from your kids, they'll be like,
they'll find it.
Yep.
I called it Yucky Star Wars. I even called it Yucky Star Wars. He was obsessed with it. He'd go over to people's houses and he'd tell them, I can't watch it. But then he was dying to watch it.
Maybe you should just show it to him.
Well, they're now his favorites. They're now his favorite.
Oh, this is what I said. Is that I'm approaching it.
He's at 9. He now thinks Empire's the best. I finally got him to the light side.
You can't have that.
Well, no. See, the way I said I'm approaching it, it's kind of like how I want to approach talking about sex with my kids. Like, I want to avoid it as long as possible, but I want them to hear it from me first and not the kids on the playground.
That's true.
You know, yeah. I'll get
because I feel like if you present it in a
just like sex, if you hide it from them,
then they're going to be like fascinated.
Yeah. And then they're going to have all this bad information, and they're going to think Jar Jar is cool.
Have you heard about midichlorians yet?
But I feel like if you present them on their own, your son is a smart enough kid. He's going to be like, these are horrible. I never have to watch this again. Yeah. And you know.
One can hope.
I made it better in his mind, I think. Like I said, now he's good, and my youngest is whatever. But yeah, I learned an early lesson there.
Well, I have a slight advantage in that my son is named Luke, so he's got a little predisposition for the originals.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So anyway, the Texas floods are happening. I'm getting in the shower, and I think, this, and I just have this funny thought. I'm like, this must really bum Pat Robertson out that he can't blame it on the gays. I don't know why. I was like, but you know what? He's gonna have to say that on my side now. So I love being able to lampoon people that are, listen, I left the faith. I will come right out. I am a very just open atheist. I left the faith. I'm done with that side of my life, except that the irony is my hell-bent left-wing political slant is absolutely framed by the tenets of that faith. You know what I mean? Like that whole
I get you.
Universal love, taking care of the sick, the lowest among you are to be treated like the highest among you, right? So it's really funny to me that like all the dogma, all that stuff that I've just sort of, I have no need for it anymore. But the good stuff that I really like about it, it totally forms what I became, and now I sort of use that to bash the charlatans, the televangelists, because I remember being in the faith. Those were the biggest embarrassments.
Oh yeah, totally.
Those are the people who are like, oh, please shut up.
Yeah, stop talking.
Represent us, right? They're just these scared old men, and they just. So anyway, I just wrote this thing where he's confused and sad because he doesn't know who to blame it on. But he says essentially, just give me a few days and I'll figure out how to blame the gays.
I know they're responsible somehow. I just haven't figured it out
yet. And listen, like I've heard people talk about when they record a great hit song, like we knew we had something special, or when they made they do that. I was like, this is another 600, 700 word, just like ha ha ha, kind of moment that I get to put. But so I publish it. I make my little Photoshop of the picture of him all sad in front of the flood. That's a big part of what I do. Like the way I've sort of become to see myself as sort of like the political Mad magazine, the online political Mad magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Which I still subscribe to this day. So
right. Oh, dude, Mad and Cracked. I mean, ironically, Cracked has become like.
Well, Cracked is like taken over the internet, but it's it became something completely different in order
it was always the junior Mad magazine. Like I liked it for certain things, but Mad just was so slick, know. But they had that
sometimes Cracked was like a little bit more ruthless in what they did.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was like because it was less polished, less people were reading it, so they knew they could get away with more.
Absolutely. That is so true. So maybe I'm a little bit more like cracked then. I don't know.
You are the cracked to the if the Onion is Mad Magazine, you're the cracked.
Maybe I would.
Hey, I'd love to be the cracked to Onion's Mad Magazine. I mean,
honestly,
that's
what I've always hoped is that the Onion would just swallow me up. You know what I mean? Because I would much rather work for them. But honestly, I don't think I'm that good. Like there to this day. I follow them on Instagram. I follow them on Facebook. I make sure that anything they put up, I see. And it's just they come up with headlines.
Oh yeah.
Go, oh my God, why did I not think of that? That is the best way to frame that. And they cut to the quick. They really do. They're so unafraid. So
well, you don't do yourself justice though, because I've read your stuff and I think you'd be right at home there. Like you know.
Thank you. No,
that's my one reason. That's the one thing I miss about living in Madison was the Onion had like a major presence in Madison, and you could get the actual paper.
Right.
I miss the physical paper.
Imagine? Yeah, well, kid, do they still do like a subscription? Can you get that mailed to you still?
I think you can, but it's kind of expensive.
Yeah, right. And then you're kind of like, well, I just want to get it on digital form.
Yeah, but it was just nice being able to go.
You're right. Yeah,
because it's like at every coffee shop, because you got the readers and like that kind of junk. But you also always had the Onion. Cool. So I knew I'd never be bored at like.
We're probably that last generation to even like probably value that.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Because I would imagine like my niece and nephew that are graduating.
I got it on my phone. What do I need this for?
Well, I told my niece like she can borrow the. Oh, can you hear me? Did you lose me?
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I got a buzz. All right, sorry. Yeah, I told her she could. We were just all talking about The Little Mermaid. She's like, "Oh, I haven't seen that movie in so long." I was like, "You can borrow the Blu-ray if you want." She's like, "No, I'll just torrent it." I'm like, "Oh." I forgot laws don't exist anymore.
Right. Yeah, even though Blu-ray won, I don't think that's it. They're done.
I think that's all over. That's over.
The only things I ever buy now are just things that I truly believe in. Things are like I have to just own it.
Yeah,
because I'm just that guy.
Like when you really, if it's something you really want to support, or it's something that like
right, you cherish it. You're like, I want that to be an heirloom almost, and is that like a digital heirloom?
But everything else, like I purged everything. Phil's still holding on.
I don't buy new stuff, but I have my collection.
But you still have your like thousands.
It's not thousands.
I still have my DVDs and stuff. Yeah, I'll never get rid of them. But yeah, I would say probably most of them are available digitally for free now.
Right.
It feels like.
And if it is, I'm not going to pull the disc off the shelf. I'm just going to go on Netflix or whatever. So.
Exactly.
But it's there, and I know it's there.
I keep pulling us off the Snope story.
That's good.
That's the reason you guys wanted to talk.
That's how our show goes. Our tangents are legendary.
I want to actually make a game of like some of our epic tangents and have somebody have to try and figure out how we got from point A to point B, because if you try and decipher, it's almost impossible.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's and I think the podcast form just like just talking about I don't know. I was in a rock band for a while that we toured, we had a manager, we were on iTunes, Spotify, all that stuff, but nobody will have or ever heard of us. And because we came in that late 90s to early 2000 period where the unsigned bands didn't know how to leverage the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And trust me, I was screaming at all my friends' bands during that time period. I'm like, MP3s, this is it. This is it. And I remember Phil the whole way was like, no, what are you talking about?
Well, because you're dyed in the wool to like want to do it the old way, because that's heroes did it, and that's also what the industry wants you to do, because the industry is so resistant to change.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, we were just talking about that because I was talking to I was talking to Phil. My current beef with the music industry is that they've somehow managed to. They're such geniuses at what they do that they've somehow turned Spotify, which is a medium, into the bad guy to just put attention away from themselves.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That bothers me to no end, because I'm like, they're the ones taking all the money. Spotify's paying somebody. They're just not like, if you're an artist and you're not getting paid, don't get mad at Spotify. Get mad at your label.
Get mad at your representation. Get mad at your at the whole system.
But that's how genius the system is they can spin it.
Yep.
Right. Well, that's the over corporatization of everything that's beautiful in the world, right?
And the fact that now we're down to what, like 4 companies that control all media.
And that's why net neutrality is so important, because the internet democratizes everything. Like I kind of feel like, you know, like the internet has sort of reduced how big and rich and famous certain people can get, but you can carve out a niche for yourself and find an audience. I mean, there are YouTubers that make six figures.
Oh yeah. Well, that's my favorite quote is, I'm pretty sure it was David Byrne, because in his big old book that he wrote, he said that there's not going to be as many like millionaires out of the music business, or pretty much anything for that matter, but a lot more people can make a living doing it.
Right. And that's much better. Because we don't live in a society where you get to have the government fund it for you anymore. You know, kings and queens aren't like, you know, giving you money to write a song for them.
But that whole idea upsets. That's still very upsetting to the establishment, and they're fighting all they can to prevent that. But once we all get over it, the world's going to be a better place.
Right. Well, that's what's cool about crowdfunding. You know, that's what's cool about the internet in general. You know, I don't blame Facebook for doing it, you know, because listen, they have a pipeline into people's news feeds, and let's face it, you know, I think at this point I'm almost at 27,000 Facebook fans, which it's really cool. It really is. And very honestly, I have started pumping money into it, and it is true. They will open up your scope, and they will. So as my
bothers me so much, but I get it. I get how, you know.
But listen, I think it did play into the Snopes a little bit, because it sort of put us on enough people's radars. Because what happened is, you know, how I was saying that people were like, you know, they'll say like, oh, I did this and I knew it was going to be special. I had no idea, but when I knew it was going to be holy cow, was when I shared it to the Daily Show wall, and within like, you know. Yeah, the Indiana story, the DL Hughley story, made me have to like bump up my hosting fees. I had to go from like their cheapest rate to like my own server because it was crashing it.
Yeah,
so that's the first time that I knew what it was like to have something just, you know, just go viral, right?
Yeah,
and then when the Daily Show, when I shared the Robertson piece, the Robertson piece on the Daily Show wall, within probably 5 or 10 minutes, there had already been like 15 or 20 shares just from that post, which never happens, which means that enough people saw that and it immediately grabbed people, and it just and honestly, I mean, listen, I don't hide it. Of course it's fake news. Like I don't, you know, I don't try to hide that fact. I'm not Stephen Colbert, because I'm not that good. You know, I don't play a character. I create characters, and then I lampoon real life people. So when I saw that 20 or 30 had shared it in 10 or 15 minutes, I was like, oh, okay, that's never happened before. And then in an hour, when it had gotten to over 200, I was like, oh my God, this is not anything I've ever seen before. And all of a sudden, my page view stats are going to where I'm averaging something like 2,000 or 3,000 views a minute.
Holy crap!
Wow.
Yeah. And when you start to think about that in terms of what it would have been like in days of just the printing press, and you're like, that's like something getting, you know, selling 3,000 copies a minute, basically 3,000 eyeballs looking at that. Because, you know, like I people are always like, oh, your web stats, you're just hitting refresh on it. You're like, guys, this isn't 1994 and AOL. Like, you know, Google's smart. They know how to pipe that out, and I don't count my own IP address, dummies. So you know, whatever. That's just dealing with trolls on the internet. You just trolls are the hacker or are the not the hackers, the hecklers of the internet.
Right.
But anyway, so like it hit to 200 in an hour, and I'm like, oh my God, it's going nuts. It's going nuts. It broke, like, my previous record was like 49,000 views in a day. You know, I make no comments. I'm sure there are sites, and I know there are sites out there that have way bigger page views than that. But for this little independent political blog, you know, satire blog that's just got a few thousand fans or whatever, this is definitely something that is starting to like sort of make, you know, little internet tremors happen.
Oh, sure.
You know? And so it doubled my record. It ended up finishing the day at just under 90,000 views, which to me is just flabbergasting to think about. You know, I grew up in a town with Phil, I can't do math.
I don't know. It was something like 20,000, maybe.
But no, like full-time residents, I think.
Well, yeah, less than that, because I don't know. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah, because your high school is like
My
small.
graduating class is like 140, I think.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Ours was probably a little bit less than that, but just right around there. So I'm just flabbergasted by it, you know. And I know that, like, again, I know the major media guys are getting page views like that, like every hour. So
but
you know, I don't go around strutting my stuff. So
But
it's like
still,
whatever,
like, just for some, you know, for you, I mean, you're just a guy making a site on a, you know,
I'd be pleased with that.
That'd be nuts.
I had you know, I had written for like a little Yahoo outlet, and I had gotten to interview some cool people like Simon Pegg and like all this cool stuff, and like, you know, I'd gotten these little tastes of what it's like to have some success, like, you know, doing something creative, you know, and having people recognize it or whatever. But yeah, this is definitely, and again, like during the 2012 election and everything, like, you know, my stuff got widely shared, you know, like I definitely had like an established little niche presence. You know, I certainly have seen enough hate mail and you know, fat jokes on message boards.
That's how you know you're doing your job well.
Right, exactly. Oh, exactly. That and seeing the shares where people just believe that it's true.
So, that to me is the best. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. No. So the next day after that 80,000 view, I saw, you know, WordPress lets you see how people get to your site, and I saw a direct referral from Snopes.
Oh man,
5 or 6 direct referrals from Snopes, and I can't speak for everybody who writes satire. I have no idea, but for me as a satire writer, the greatest feeling in the world is that some poor fact checker at Snopes actually had to read my drivel and actually had to fact check it and tell people, no, this isn't true. Because what that means is that it registered enough. I mean, Snopes is like the nonpartisan, you know, they're the ones that you can send
they're
your mom and your dad and your grandma. No, guys,
I do it almost every day. Almost every day.
The FEMA camps are not open yet. Don't worry, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like,
I tweeted the other day, I wish that Facebook included something in their algorithm that would automatically run everything through Snopes. But then if that happened, my wall would just be cat pictures and people's babies.
Well, yeah, and my stuff would dry up.
Right.
Well, actually, no. But what I think happens is, like, I always feel like the way I buoy myself is, you know, you look at who shares it.
Yeah.
And you read the comments, and you definitely see a lot of people believing it's real, and that makes you feel sad, or at least makes me feel sad. It makes me want to not do it. Because I'm like, oh God, and even people who, you know, think like I do and stuff, I'm like, oh God, like they don't realize I'm making this up. And I know that part of it is that for a long time I just did op-eds, so I'm kind of sneaky that way. You know what I mean? But I'm very, I mean, I leave what I call breadcrumbs. You know, like I like to gradually ramp it up so that if you haven't figured it out by the time, you know, because Pat Robinson was dropping F-bombs in my piece, you know, so I sort of feel like if people thought that was true, I don't know, that they kind
of deserve to think it's true.
Right. Right, exactly. So Snopes, you know, I just looked because I wanted to look at the link today just to see, you know, I left a comment on there because the only thing that bothered me is that in the write-up it said that there's no clear, you know, flag on the site that says it's satire, and I'm like, no, it says it right in my about the author. It says that it's a left-leaning political satire and commentary blog, and there's a reason that I always put satire first, because I'm a comedian first, you know. So I wanted to always make it be about comedy and satire first. It's just I've, you know, finally just turned the page to just say, look, this is what I'm doing with the project because this is what I like doing. And clearly after Snopes and, you know, the Hughley shared piece and everything else, it just sort of kind of like made me realize, okay, like this is something that like I'm able to sort of register a little bit of an impact on, and it's just it's fun. It's really fun, you know, and it's not paying bills by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
It's just so neat to, like, you know, be able to escape the 9-to-5 world on the margins. You know, it's like, well, I'm at work, I'm working, but while I'm, you know, sort of out, you know, off the clock, I'm able to sort of create this, like I said, this little online magazine that, you know, my whole life I've been poking fun at authority figures. I don't know if Phil can verify that or not.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Even when I was in the church, I sort of, you know, I was the kid, you know, I just never, like, I never took authority to mean anything just because they said it was, you know, because I don't know about you guys, but I sort of feel like that's just me seeing through all the BS. That's
absolutely. I just went on a whole rant on my podcast about how I'm borderline unemployable because of my problems with authority. I do, because like you said, I'm not, if somebody just says to me to do something and I don't respect them or they're full of crap,
right.
Like I'm just gonna be like, who are you and why should I listen to you? And sometimes it gets me into trouble.
Yeah, and I've been that way my whole life. I was always the kid getting thrown out of class for just pulling focus, really, to borrow an industry term. I was just pulling focus, the teacher. And now looking back on it, if my kid was doing it, listen, I would tell my kid, listen, you got to stop because there would be consequences.
But it's so many consequences.
Like, well, you realize you're still like 20 years older than this kid, right? Like you can still command a classroom, and the key is you don't try to rip the spotlight away. You just shine it for like 2 seconds and say, okay, you're done. And then you move on. The greatest teacher I ever had was Kathy Walters, because she figured me out and she told me she figured me out. And as soon as she figured me out, everybody was happy. Right.
Right.
So like, that's sort of been like my philosophy my whole life, is just poking people in the eye that deserved it. Like I got sent home in 9th grade for an underground newspaper that was really just 5 copies of something that I think it was like Microsoft Publisher or something that I printed on like the bubble jet printer, right? And there were so many, and it was because there were so many F-bombs, and I think there was like a teacher that I might have called an F or something. I don't know, it was definitely crass and bad and all that stuff. But I got sent home from high school for 1 day for that, and that, by the way, that original copy is printed and framed on my wall.
Is it really?
Yeah, no, I wear it as a badge of honor because
awesome.
it's like,
that's pretty awesome.
I've always because I sort of feel like that was like it's terrible. I will never share the content of it with anybody because it's horrible. It was written by a 14-year-old in a small town that felt trapped and all that other stuff, and was bloviating and trying to make himself feel bigger than he was and all that good stuff. But yeah, I still see the seeds of it. I still see that anti-authoritarian streak, and so and now you jump cut to like 20 years later, and you realize like, okay, so now I can aim it at the people who deserve it, like the politicians, the Pat Robertsons and the politicians of the world that are like, it's so clear that they're just full of it, and yet they're so entrenched that they're the ones in power, and so. It feels good. Like I am literally blocked from almost every right-wing conservative Republican's Facebook page. Daryl Issa was one of the first ones to block me, and he's my congressman, by the way.
He was. Yeah, he was I lived in San Diego too, and that guy's the biggest. That guy's the biggest jackass.
Yeah,
like ever.
Yeah.
He's
horrible. And if you know his history, it's weird.
It goes forever, and like I knew his kids and. Like I went to my brother and I went to school with kids and they're assholes.
Yeah, no, there's no other way. There are some people that earn that moniker.
And then because San Diego has some corrupt politicians.
Yeah.
When I was younger, Randy Duke Cunningham.
Oh yeah,
that guy was.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, he's in jail now. I think. I hope so.
Listen, they're all corrupt. Like I left the Democratic Party last year because I got tired of getting, emails, 25, 30 emails a day asking for money from me.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, that's so crass. I'm like, that is so against what the whole thing was supposed to be about, So I try to gear my website. I try to gear it at either I'm the butt of the joke or the people that deserve it are the butts of the joke.
And I'd say Pat Robertson is definitely in that position. So
right. So it feels good, and I feel like if it hits Snopes, God, and I know I'll never know because he'll never admit it, and it would never leak out. But I would just hope that somehow somebody passed that to him under his nose.
Someone read it to him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
He had that because he has that lady that like reads the letters to him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't watch it much, but when I catch little clips of him being an idiot,
there's tons of clips of him being an idiot.
It's the lady like reading stuff.
Oh, exactly.
What if she reads that to him one of these days? That'd be pretty cool.
It would be great. So it just, who knows if that is now going to be like, what's the line from High Fidelity? Some bands never get over when they open for Nirvana,
Right.
So I don't know if that'll be my Snoop story will be what I tell my grandkids. But I feel like it's at least affirmation that like I can write something that can, you know, be close enough to reality to where, you know, and that's probably the biggest compliment I get is not, oh, this is great. It's when people say this is great because it's too close to reality, you know.
Well, like you said, the way, I mean, that one in particular, you know, it ramps up and it gets a little more ridiculous, so that if you're paying attention, you can tell at the end it's not real. But the stuff he says is close enough to what he would say in real life. If you read it back to him, he wouldn't doubt that he said that.
Well, and what I do, and you know, like nothing's better about for comedy than deconstructing it. But so I don't want to like just, you know, oh, here's what I do, here's my phone. But like what I like, but you know, definitely one of the things that I do, and it's something that I learned. I forget whose English class was in, but we were studying satire because that's something you learn in English class. This is another thing that I'm blown away by, that we need satire tags, because I'm like, really, don't we at least all get the idea of what it is?
Like, know? I thought don't you have to read Common Sense like in school,
or at least you're taught about it?
Like, I remember reading that multiple times. I think we read it both in history and English class.
Well, I mean, and not Common Sense notwithstanding, how about just anything by Twain?
Well, yeah, and all that stuff, and then especially like in our culture, like with the Daily Show,
Weekend
in the Colbert Report, Weekend Update, it's all
for 40 years.
Such a huge part of our culture. I'm just like, how can people not understand this? I don't get it. I mean, but then anytime I think that maybe we are improving, somebody showed me just a couple weeks ago a blog where all it is people's responses to Onion articles, and it made me want to cry. It made me want to cry.
Sometimes my favorite thing is to scroll to the bottom and read the comments, because
of course,
come on, and that's the best part.
Of course, yeah. Oh, yeah. And what's great is that is like the really wacky ones get a lot of likes, because you know that's all the people that are in on it, and those likes are like the most ironic, sarcastic, like raspberry in your face kind of likes. You know, it's interesting. I mean, my wife and I talk about like the internet culture and whether or not it has made people more or less rude or more or less blah blah blah. You know, the anonymity behind the keyboard. Mm-hmm. But I sort of feel like social media is sort of like
has added this whole other layer to it.
Being in a bar, though, really, you know, or just, you know, in a group where people have always congregated, they shout at each other when they disagree with each other, you know, and here in America, we just yell at each other and call the other person the worst names possible. and then 2 days later, when you realize that you're really mad at the bank because they're making you pay all this interest and blah 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 blah, and then you realize, okay, so I'm not really mad at that guy. And then you let them get over on the freeway, you know, like even if you knew if they had a bumper sticker on their car, though, you might not, but then you still let them over.
Oh,
just get through, you know.
Bumper stickers.
Yeah. Did I touch off on another one?
It's just kind of bothers me.
Well,
dumb bumper stickers bother me, and then when like the worst is when you get cut off by a Jesus fish, and I'm just like, so many things I want to do right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it always seems like those are the ones. Those and the NOTW stickers are the ones that cut you off. You're like, what are you doing? Should you be like leisurely, like enjoying all that God gave you right now? Why are you?
Also, I don't know. I feel like the NOTW is like the bro version of the Jesus fish.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I grew up like, you know, my family was, yeah, and again, like I am going.
Hey, when I grew up, I had the dude. I'm guilty because I had the Darwin fish eating the Jesus fish eating the Darwin fish. That's how hardcore I was. I had my straight edge sticker. Well, I was all about just like, I'm better.
Who grew up in the church in that time period when the Reagan 80s came about was flooded with this, because that's how they got their power structure reorganized. You know, it was around the religious right, you know. So even if you weren't going to a church where like the political message was heavily in there, the media, the Christian
media was
bombarding you with it
all over the place.
And that's where like the whole war on evolution from that side came. And I just, you know, I cannot get with anything that like denies, you know, fact. You know, when you start denying fact, I've got to back out. I've just got to back out, you know. And that's, you know, was sort of like the impetus for it all starting. But you know, I also, but on the same token, I always have never wanted to be one of those atheists that just
that's
punishes religious people for being religious, because again, I grew up in it, and I get what it's about when it's good. You know,
the thing that bothers me about
the people that ruin anything, it's when they do it for the money, for the personal gain.
And I feel like that exists on all sides, and it's just as bad. Right. And that's what I try, because like I try so hard. I want people to know that like we don't have to all just be like extreme and crazy.
Right.
Like and it's not just these people or these people. There are crazy people everywhere, and we all just need to chill out.
Right. Well, I mean, especially, like just following politics like I've had to for the last 5 years.
It
like
poisons your brain.
When you start following international politics and you start realizing that, it's a mess. It's a mess everywhere you go, and there's so much that we could be doing to be helping people everywhere in the world that are, really just suffering, and
like horribly, like in ways that we can't even fathom.
Right. And you add on top of it, the knock of Mother Earth constantly like, guys, like really, like I'm kind of upset right now, like no matter however you fall on how we solve the problem, it's time to stop pretending that it's not happening, right? Because the weather is not the climate. However, we've all seen such drastic weather pattern changes that we got to look at like what causes and solutions might be. Like I can't believe we've gotten to the point where we can't even get to the point of arguing what the solutions are. We're still arguing about whether we have to find a solution. That's that I think will make me stop covering politics.
I was just having this conversation last night with a friend, Jeff, actually. It's funny because you know me, and I grew up in the church, and I still am. I still identify myself as a Christian, but I've become very disillusioned with the institution of the church. Mm-hmm. Still go to church and try to make the best of it, but I'm very frustrated with the people that represent what I believe, or supposedly represent what I believe to the public. And one of the things we're talking about is just that I think, because we're talking about environmental issues and why are Christians so like afraid of that? Why are we like so against? Why are like?
Well, it always boggles my mind that it became so partisan.
Right. Like, why would that be offensive to someone? Because if you believe that God created the earth for us, why wouldn't you want to take care of it? And my friend Jeff had this
verses where they tell you to take care
of it. There are. Absolutely. It's very, like, stewardship of the earth is very biblical.
But Jeff had this really cool, like, idea is that because churches have focused so much on like the end times and things are so bad and stuff,
they don't care.
We get this mentality that, well, why should I take care of the earth? It's gonna all be blown up anyway. And I think that's what's happening.
That's a big factor in a lot of the way they operate about a lot of things.
And that's a huge problem. Like that's really embarrassing. That's the mentality.
I don't want to get too crazy here, but I still think half of the church and the extreme Republicans' interest in Israel has nothing to do. They don't care about the people there. They don't care about. It has to do with end times theology,
right? And lining it up with that.
And
stuff.
I
don't know if it's half.
That's really crazy.
Yeah, listen, I don't know. I don't know if it's half. Although, I mean, really, I'm
not saying half, but I'm saying
no. It might be. It might be. There's certainly a strong strain of it.
I've straight up confronted. Absolutely. Like I've asked some politicians, like, why do you operate this way? And like, well, because Israel plays a major part in the book of Revelation. I'm like, seriously, right? Are you being serious right now?
Right.
Like decisions that affect are based on your interpretation of like that is nuts. Yeah. No matter, I mean, even and this was when I was at the time I was going to Bible college. But like that extra step to me is like where, and then, but also on all sides again, like you're talking about atheism and like because like as soon as because when you get like these super militant atheists that are like actively going, I'm like, you are doing exactly what they're doing. So like, I don't understand. You're the same.
Yeah, it's funny because like I used to be a dyed-in-the-wool conservative Republican.
Yeah.
But again, like that really is a lot of it was the same with the faith. It was all just sort of you're taught your value system through it, and it's all the things your parents take you to, and in that community that we lived in, you know, it made a nice little sub community, and you know, it was
well, yeah, you get in your bubble.
fine.
I mean,
yeah, right. No,
it
I
feels
mean,
good.
Right, exactly. You get in your bubble and everything feels good. That's exactly right. But what happens is, I mean, I can't speak for you, I can't speak for Phil,
Mhm.
but I've known quite a few of us that have come out of that community, and whether it be, you know, our little church or the Catholic church there, or you know, because believe it or not, I mean, it's so great in a town so small. There were still so many churches,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that
Oh,
just
yeah.
tells you how batshit crazy it is. Sorry, I had to use that term.
No,
But
to
have
me
no other
too.
term
To
for
me,
it.
that to me has always been one of those things where I'm just like, for a movement that's all about unity and love, they so divided and so divisive.
I'm a Universal Life Church ordained minister since I was like 17, 18 years old. So
when I went to Bible
I've lived
college in
through it.
Missouri, and I witnessed a church split that happened because they were arguing about where to put the kitchen in the basement,
Wow.
or like another one was like carpeting.
See, and when you start
like
to see
stuff like
the
that,
bureaucratic breaks in it, like Phil said, you start to hate the foundation underneath it, like almost the corporation running it, you know.
Yeah.
And you just start to realize that it's just all just this kind of, I don't want to go off on a rant, but you know, just the whole, you know, tax thing, you know, like I sort of feel like if they're truly doing quote God's work and the charity work, I have no problem them not being taxed. Like really, I'm not a militant atheist. But these mega churches where you know that you know, when they're getting $65 million private planes, and you know, they're McMansions on the West Coast, and
that's where you really start to question,
where do we draw the line?
Like, should that guy be getting a housing allowance?
No,
like
Max Jim Baker and Jimmy Swaggart to me, you know, and those are the false prophets that the Bible talks about you're not supposed to listen to. You know, and I'm sorry if I can remember that stuff as a 15-year now lapsed Christian, that means that everybody in the faith should be able to get it. So that's why I don't go off on big tangents feeling like everybody in the faith doesn't get it, because I know a lot of people do. It's just for whatever reason, gullible old people, I think, are suckered into giving them money. And it's kind of sad.
And gullible old people are the ones that tend to vote more and tend to be more involved, even both in politics and in the church. Who's going to those board meetings? Who's going to those? All that stuff. Who are the like in a lot of churches? I mean, I hate to say this, but elders is a literal term. Like,
no, it's true. It's true. I mean, listen, I'm a
Bill and I could probably talk about what's wrong with the church for like hours. But
no, listen, it's interesting. Listen, I mean, yeah, it's your show. It's interesting to me though, because I'm not in the church anymore. But you know, like this is honestly the first time that I think Phil and I have talked, and not because we don't like each other, but like talked, you know, about certainly anything religious, since we were both in the church. So that would be many years ago. But definitely, this is the first time we just talked like this in a while. So it's just, to me, you know, fascinating getting in touch with people from the past that were in the faith and seeing where they are with it, because our generation is the internet generation, and that sort of blew knowledge and information out the door. You know, like the new Eve and Apple parable would be that she logged Adam onto the internet. You know what I mean? Like, really, I mean, if it were written today, that's what it would be. So it's just really cool hearing Phil talk about it, because I love it when there are people that grew up in it with me, that, you know, either whether they leave the faith or not, but that just, you know, sort of shrug off some of the political dogma to get back to like the tenets of what it was about, at least. And then it gives me hope for humanity.
To me, I don't see any connection between politics. I mean, it's supposed to be a separation of church and state, right? And I don't understand why that's become that way. Like, it's ridiculous to me.
Because and it happens in every country, and it happens in every form of government. There has to be a political power that latches on to the regressive form, like the people that are still practicing religion the way that it was invented for, you know, like to be a power grab and to be a cultural restriction on people, you know. I have a feeling like another reformation of every major religion is coming thanks to the internet, because it's just going to make people go, man, we don't have to be this way. You know, like whether you believe in whatever version of the afterlife or not, who cares? Like let's take advantage of what we have right now. You know, like no matter how you look at it, in a few billion years, the Earth will be swallowed up by the sun anyway. So why not?
Right.
Why not just have some fun trying to get off this rock? You know what I mean? Like, let's go see if Star Trek V isn't just the most terrible Star Trek movie, and also is true.
Just watched that and talked about it on our last episode.
See, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks for letting me ramble about that.
No, it's fine. Well, so I just wanted to ask, like, how did you deal with like what is that? What was the? I mean, you kind of talked about it, but like the Snopes thing, and then I'm sure like you're just getting bombed with like comments and emails and assorted requests and stuff. Like, how did what was that like for you? How does your family feel about all this? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, definitely my parents, who are still hardcore dyed-in-the-wool conservative Republicans, don't really read my stuff. My dad I got an email from my dad like when it all began, and like my blog started like just picking up a few followers, where he's like, saw your blog, ... Is this for real ? And that's when I had to. It was almost like, you know, my own version of coming out. You know, I had to come out as a liberal. I still haven't like officially come out as an atheist. I still just kind of do the pat on the head kind of thing. Change the subject, just because
it's too. I mean, I'm
for my soul already, and I just don't want to hurt their feelings.
Yeah, and that's just that's a giant hole that nobody comes out of that like a winner when you get into those conversations.
We do a web comic, and anytime like a parent is mentioned, my parents and Brennan's parents just instantly assume
it's about them.
It's about that. Like, this is a fictional character I created, so I can't even imagine like doing what you're doing, and then what.
Well, then like even with the podcast, sometimes my mom, like I don't know if she listens all that much.
She probably,
but at some point she does. On my other podcast, luckily I lucked out because we curse, so she immediately turned it off and was like, I think we got one comment. It just said language exclamation points.
That's funny.
But then she also has to deal with my brother, who is a stand-up comedian and has said horrifying things about her, my dead father, all kinds of things, and I think she's finally kind of coming to terms with that, but like you don't know how many times I've gotten phone calls from my mom just bawling. I've had.
I'm so not surprised.
I'm sure you've been. You said you were in comedy, so I know.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I did. I have started and had 2 mildly successful sketch comedy troupes in my life, and the most successful one we had, we actually we're pretty sure we were like some kind of money laundering front for the like some South Korean mafia. No, not kidding, because because how it happened is we were doing this run on in this tiny little like 50-seat theater in somewhere in the valley. I forget.
Okay.
somewhere over in the Sherman area. I forget. Been a long time since I lived in LA. but anyway, so we were in this tiny little theater, and then this one night we get approached by this this South Korean girl, and she says, "Hey, I really like your stuff. Can we have a meeting later? Let's talk." We're like, "Yeah, great, whatever." So she offers us like $5,000 or whatever to go and like rent out a real venue in Hollywood, and do a month-long show. And we're like, okay, and how much money do you want back from the receipt? She's like, no, don't worry about it. Just put on the show. I want to see a really good show.
Oh, man.
Like, okay, great. So you don't want your money back? And now looking back on it, I'm like, well, of course there was like that money was gotten somehow badly, because like nobody invests in a show in Hollywood. It says, don't worry about
the money.
Ever. You know, like that's actually the opposite of what they usually say. But we did.
Unless you found the one true patron of the arts.
Right. I know, right? Well, yeah. Well, then it's really sad, because like we did this, you know, we were nervous sketch comedians. So we're like, well, we're not going to do an all new show at this, like in Hollywood for a month. So we like reran some of our favorite sketches and stuff, and it bummed her out. She's like, I wanted a brand new show. We're like, oh, okay, we're sorry. So she had no problem with not having the money, but she wanted to see all new stuff. But we never, you know, like there was never a talk about it ever again, you know? So,
wow.
Anyway, but yeah, so like we rented the venue, we did all that stuff, and like nobody came because nobody comes to live comedy unless you're like, but again, it was like pre-social media. It was before we could have done any big promotion. It was like we were stuck in that in between phase,
Flyers.
So it's like, yeah, and it was so fun because I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Hollywood area, but how
yeah.
when you're up to the Hollywood Bowl and there's that church that has the big AIDS ribbon on it.
Yes.
Yep.
There is a theater in that church, and that's where we did our show. So imagine, I mean, and it was a hard R-rated show. Like my friends and I, we wrote comedy that was for adults and by adults that were probably just like teenagers in adult bodies, just scatological. I mean, not scatological for scatological sake, but nothing was off the table. So it was just so great that we're like in this church, but they didn't care because like the what was in there before was like a running of like a live performance of like Marx's Communist Manifesto, and we heard that like half the show there was like a naked woman on stage for no reason, just for shock value. So we're like, okay, so they're cool with content, obviously. But my parents never came to any of that stuff. Absolutely not. They asked like, do they want me to come? And I was like, and my thing was yes, but I don't want to hear any lectures about content. Yeah. And they're like, okay, then never mind, we won't come. So it's like
I had to have that whole conversation with my mom. I'm like, he's gonna do this, and this is what he does, and it has no bearing on, because she's like, I failed as a mother. I'm like, no. You've done well as a mom because your son is getting up in front of strangers and doing this, and he's doing a pretty good job at it. And
right, listen, it is true that in every joke there is truth, because to me the axiom should be changed to, in every funny joke there's some truth.
Yeah.
Because in order for a joke to be funny, somebody else has to find it true. It has to resonate with somebody, even if it's oddball, absurd stuff. Steve Martin's greatest stuff when in his stand-up stuff wasn't this erudite, lucid dissertation on the issues of the day, but it rang true because he was lampooning what entertainment had become to that point. So like there always has to be truth in it somewhere. So I can get where she would be horrified of it, but my youngest, we kind of feel has the curse, because he's just such a clown. He when things are tense in the house, he reverts to making everybody laugh to make him happy, and he'll do anything to get a laugh, and that means truly anything, and Carolyn and I, my wife and I, were talking. We're like, he's in for it, but it's going to be so fun to see if he actually pursues it, because I'm trying to like not have him be that stereotype of like the rough relationship with the dad. Right. What I mean? So it'll be interesting to see what his comedy comes out to be. But you've just gotta let them have their lives, let them be and support it. So
right on.
But anyway, so Snopes happened, and everybody was, I didn't actually get, there were a lot of page views, and there were definitely a lot of comments, and definitely, a lot of stuff like that, but nothing crazy. Like nobody from Snopes actually contacted me or anything.
Their research entailed looking at your website and going, oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, he's making this up.
It's funny.
Right. Exactly. But, yeah, I mean, I was hoping that maybe the Daily Show be like, look, Trevor's got the job, but do you want to write for us?
Right. Correspondent.
That's honestly how I looked at my site for the longest time. I was like, this is just my online resume, so that when but whatever, Well,
especially today in comedy, like everybody that I know of that has succeeded, like artistically, or gone on to do anything like commercially, you have to have something. You can't just have like a reel or this. Like you have to be doing stuff. Yeah. So even if it never happens, like you gotta have something. And also, I mean, I'm sure you can relate to this. You're talking about the 9-to-5 monotony. It's also, you need it to keep you sane.
Right.
Oh, 100%.
Because you spend. I mean, I'm currently in between jobs right now, but like you have to, because you have to have something to show to justify this, and also because you work this crap, not the crap job, but like this job that you get no fulfillment from, like,
or just the fulfillment that you get is that
it's not the same.
Well, no, it's a mono. Yeah, right, exactly. It's at least if you exist on a plane where creativity has to come out of you in some way.
Yes.
It's a nightmare to not have some kind of outlet, and that's what I love about the internet. Like people can poo-poo blogs all they want or YouTube or whatever, but one of my favorite shows right now is Broad City. They were YouTubers.
Yeah. Great show.
I am so great. It's so funny. I've gone from the most right-wing conservative person that I'm a flaming feminist now, and it's so great to be alive in this time and seeing like the young female comedians that are coming up, and like Amy Schumer and
she is tearing it up right now.
Yeah,
and she's just like school. I love that she's at this point where she could just say whatever she wants.
Yeah,
she doesn't know.
It's so good, and society and culture needs that.
We need that. We need that so much. We need
women to come.
We need women to just be like, here's how it is. And
there's absolutely no reason why Congress should not be at least 50% represented by female. And I'm not in favor of like laws and mandates. I'm just saying like people need to stop being stupid about it and assuming that women just want to have the one facet of their life being making babies. Some women do, and that's great, and who cares if they do? Like, go for it, you know what I mean? But other women want to grab more, and that's great because we need that voice. Like men have been doing things primarily for a long time, and slavery, Jim Crow, going even further back. It's just anyway, to end it on such a positive and upbeat, happy note of slavery. Jim Crow. But no, I mean, really, like, it's just, I love that the internet has opened up. I would probably be doing a zine. I don't know. Like, I'll very honestly, of course, I want to get to that next level. Of course, I want to be only paying my bills with it, But for now, I was happy that the last few articles that have gone big have given, my writing partner and I, enough money to where we can basically put it back into Facebook ads and stuff and get some more traffic, get some more interest to our pages. And I sort of just, I fought against Zuckerberg for so long. And I finally said, you know what? If I'm going to ever ask anybody to invest money in my art, ever, like whether it be just like clicking on an ad or, giving me money for a Kickstarter, I have to be willing to kick in a little bit myself. And luckily I was at a point where I had like literally found another full-time job that I could work when I wasn't working my other full-time job. So I had like just a little bit enough to just sort of test the waters and see if it was helpful, and it was. So now I've sliced off a tiny little bit of what I make from the pittance from the website, and I'm able to reinvest it. And to Facebook's credit, it certainly isn't like this boom in views like they say it could be, but I can see where it would work. Where if it definitely when I promoted that my share of that piece, it definitely got even more views because it was already popular within Facebook's little algorithm.
Right.
So it's just, I don't know. It's cool to be alive in this time and know that even at 35, I haven't like lost my ability to break through to that next level if I want. But even if I don't, I've just sort of shifted my focus onto like where I find satisfaction in the art.
Awesome.
So you mentioned Kickstarter, and I just have to throw it out there that we are in the midst of our second Kickstarter for our show here. It's something that you might appreciate the humor behind, but our main focus of the project is we're going to be the first podcast to release a podcast on a 7-inch vinyl.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I was looking at that. Did I see? Did you guys went over your?
Yeah, we made the goal.
We still have 4 days left, and we're at like.
I want a sleeve. I want a sleeve.
We'll get there.
I want those cardboard.
We're hitting our stretch goals, and
that's great. That's great.
Cool.
So is that going to be for like you're going to do like a limited run release?
Yeah, just a short run and
specially recorded episode.
A 12-minute episode.
Yeah, well,
6 minutes on each side.
About
6 on a side. Yeah, oh, that's great.
So we're gonna have to plan that out very.
Well, I have our idea.
Phil
what we're
has.
gonna do here.
I think Phil has a loose idea of we're gonna have to like.
By the time our listeners hear
it's not gonna be scripted, but it's gonna be as close to scripted
be themed.
a Radio BrendoMan ever has been.
And by the time our listeners hear this, it'll have already been funded because it's going to come out later.
Or maybe you should just do like the last 2 minutes on the record being a totally unscripted, just cluster and just see what happens.
Well, the idea I had, and since it'll be done by this point, I think that it's two sides, right? Obviously. Yeah. So I think we should each pick like our favorite or a classic story about each other, and I'll tell a story on one side and you tell on the other. So obviously dialogue about it, but something that'll be at least somewhat memorable that someone might want to listen to it more than once. Obviously, we're not going to talk about the current TV shows we're watching or something.
Yeah, we're like, this is what happened today.
Daredevil's great.
Your current iPhone features and stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Well, your current iTunes update patches.
Yeah, something a little more timeless, hopefully.
Yeah, that's great, man. I've kicked around a few ideas for Kickstarters. Nothing's really kicked my brain where I'm like, I would want to ask people to give me money for it. But I love it. I love the new, our people of our generation and a little bit younger, man. It's just like saying we're going to work outside the boundaries.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to make this thing and I'm going to see if anybody else wants it. And if they do, cool, and then we can do it. I don't need to get an agent. I don't need to get some big
take out a loan to make stuff.
Yeah, right.
You don't have to.
And what you find is like it's a lot less expensive than you would think if you target it. If you target it to the people that want to see it.
If you know your niche and you hit that, we know that we have about 25 people that will give us money. And how much money, and that's what we're going to aim for. We're not going to ask our 25 people for $10,000 because we're not going to get $10,000.
Right, exactly.
Like, I feel like that's the problem with most of the Kickstarters that fail. They could succeed if they just knew their audience a little bit better.
They definitely do.
And then also there are still people out there, and this is Phil and I's constant number one thing that we tell people. Like, we do panels and stuff about this where there are this idea that there are people that are just randomly giving to Kickstarters, even if they don't know you or your thing. That does not exist. That doesn't exist. I mean, just today, I just love, like, today you had Uwe Boll going off.
Oh my God.
About his Phil Kickstarter. I'm like, that's because he was there. He had imaginary people in his head that were gonna donate to this movie.
Venture capitalists don't go there. It's people that are passionate about wanting to help you.
Right.
Yeah. And lucky and you have an idea for something that
unless you have something really cool.
Right. Yeah. Or like, you have a story that like tugs at people's heartstrings and stuff. And then those people deserve the money. So it's like whatever.
Yeah. Or you want to make potato salad.
But that potato salad guy, I mean, come on.
That was a fluke, I know.
It was kind of genius.
It was.
Yeah.
But that'll never happen again.
No.
Like that's it. It's I don't know.
I'm tired, I have to be honest.
Okay, so really fast.
Okay, real quick. I just want to do one quick. I want at least one. We need some Phil dirt here.
Something.
Dirt? Oh.
Well, a story or something you remember.
Well, because we had Lisa. I don't know if you know Lisa Graff.
Oh yeah.
She's now a best-selling children's author. Has written two books and a fictional Big Bear.
Her brother Ryan has actually written a few pieces on my site.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We got Lisa to tell some humorous Phil stories.
Johnson actually wrote for my site. Oh,
sweet.
Yeah. I mean, Phil, you can write. Anybody can write for my site.
Well, yeah. Brendan has met Rick because R.J. Johnson.
Yeah. I met Rick. I've read a couple of his books. So.
Yeah, there you go. See, and it's so cool that out of that tiny little,
I love that out of the small Big Bear class, there's been all these super creative people. That's awesome.
Well, we had, we were lucky that we had some really awesome like teachers and mentors and parents in the community, that really showed us, because none of us were obviously the jocks in the town.
Right.
A lot of the money and the funding would go in the schools, and it happens in every small town. Because football is the way out of town.
Right.
But we at least had enough artists in the community that were like, hey, these kids, they have something to offer too. So they fostered that,
That's awesome.
Phil Dirt. Oh my God. See, I don't know.
You guys were in a band together.
Yeah. Okay. I want to.
Phil actually wants to have.
I have these like weird, like partial memories because I'm getting old and I can't remember stuff anymore, which is horrible.
It's your dad brain.
But remind me about like. What do you remember of the Bare Feet Orchestra debacle? Does that ring a bell to you at all?
No.
Larry Miller and getting together about 40 people over at Nathan Tabor's house for a band practice.
Okay, see, yeah. So I remember that. Well, listen, one of those nights, I don't even know if you were there, but one of those nights was the night that I was met first full frontal with the force of a fascistic police force. I got actually not arrested, but just detained outside of Nathan's house.
Okay.
For possessing cigarettes, God forbid. Because I was 14. But I don't remember it being like we were all going to be in the band. I remember it as being like just a massive, we called it the 24-hour jam.
Right.
It's been an excuse for all of us to hang out with chicks and be like, hey, look, we play music.
Yeah, Phil did mention that.
Yeah.
Like there may have been a lot of girls there.
I will definitely confirm there were a lot of girls there, but I mean, but nothing untoward was happening. Because
no.
Yeah, but it was kind of that like, I got my guitar, I'm gonna show off.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we all showed off. I mean, I at that point I had just been noodling in music for a couple years, so I was nowhere near the prodigious levels that everybody else was at. But I just remember I remember staying up all night and walking down to was it Vanessa's house? I don't know. Can we use names?
I don't know. I think we'll only use last names. I said Nathan.
I remember walking down to Vanessa's house, and I think we were gonna toilet paper it or something. We did something. I don't know. There's everything that you do in a small town that's like minorly vandalous, but not really. Oh, we did tip over. Were you there when we tipped over the porta potty in the middle of Nathan's street?
I was not. No.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
So that was definitely okay. So I'm glad to know that was not just me and my friends that tipped over porta potties. That was definitely a thing.
Okay, well, on that note then, because the meanest thing I ever did was, I would go out toilet papering occasionally. And I don't know if you remember this, but Nathan and I and a couple others may or may not have hit your house at one point.
Oh, yeah. And
I remember you were quite upset about it, and nobody fessed up to it for a while until I think the storm blew over. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, no, I was pissed. I mean, really, the fun. Well, from what I can remember, because really, that was. I hate to say how long ago that was, because I'm sad how fuzzy the memory is. But maybe drugs and alcohol. I don't know, but that night. No, no, but I remember. Yeah, I remember that, but somehow I remember winding up. Were you there for this night where we wound up like above Pine Knot? Near my house, but like in a giant huge dirt lot, and we were all just kind of hanging out. And my revenge was, and I this is a terrible story, but I love telling it. My revenge was I literally pissed on Nathan's leg. Like I made him like stare off into the distance. I was like, no, we're gonna get this house, we're gonna TP this house. And I literally micturated on his leg.
See, I remember that story, but I can't remember if I was actually there, if I just know the story.
Deny?
Yeah, it's been that long, so.
Or maybe I did that because he made me think I remember he made me think that I drank his piss out of a Snapple bottle. That's what that was about.
Yeah, that's right. Again, we grew up in a small town, a mountain town, keep in mind. So.
No, I've been in such a bored kids.
And we're all still friends.
Because in high school, I have tons of stories from high school because my friends and I, we were the kids. We didn't go to parties, half because we were total nerds who didn't get invited to parties, but also we were like youth group kids. So, but that left us with lots of hours of doing and getting into the trouble that teenage boys get into, rolling houses, peeing on things and blowing up things.
I think Phil and Larry and Nathan, and like all of us sort of fit in that. Well, Nathan, was never in the church or whatever, but
right.
But I think we all sort of fit in that like that vibe of like irreverent and sort of cheeky, sort of like wanting to break the rules without necessarily going to juvenile hall.
Yeah.
So, just but definitely willing to do dumb and stupid stuff to entertain each other.
Oh sure, yeah.
And so I'm thankful for that. I do remember. I remember hiking in 6th grade. So you would have been in 7th grade, Phil, in Vista. Remember the camping trip where we hiked up the top of the mountain? Your dad was proud of me because I didn't wimp out. I remember.
Yep.
That's a lazy kid, man. I'm a lazy adult, so that's okay. But I'm proud of it. That was a nice. That was a climb up to like 10,000 feet, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was up Sugarloaf, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't make it up that. Jeez.
I mean, I'm sure Phil, farted a few times in the room, like we all did, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, right. I mean, I have nothing like, just.
This is good though. This is good.
That's good.
If nothing else,
I just
you
like the
restored
fact
some
that,
memories there.
At one point, you guys were like all assembled as musicians, and in some alternate universe, you guys became like the next Arcade Fire, or like Polyphonic Spree,
right.
or something.
Well, because
or like this crazy jam band.
Well, because I remember the way that what led up to that was I had been in a band with Matt and Derek. I don't know if you remember them.
Oh yeah, Matt. Yeah.
Okay, so we were in a band and it was called Bare Feet. And then they kind of broke off and did their own thing, and I still wanted to have a band. And then Larry and I started talking, and I think Larry was kind of the impetus behind it. He started just inviting everyone he knew that like might be interested in music, including a lot of girls, and that's how we all wound up. I think there was like 3 bass players there or something, like,
Oh yeah. I played bass.
So then, how did you decide, or did you just?
I don't know, because Larry played bass too, and I don't know. He had this whole like master plan. I still have the notebooks he gave me of all the like cover songs we were gonna do and all this stuff. I think it, like you said, it lasted like one night, and then that was about it.
It was just, I thought it was like those turned into the 24-hour jams, though. I remember that. Like we did a couple of those, and it was, and because Nathan had like the greatest house for it, because he had the giant jam room with like that nice like piano that was in there, and the drum set, and the all the amps were set up. But then outside was like the huge backyard, so when it got like too hot and sweaty and stinky, everybody would just kind of go out and like hang out in the cold big bear air for a while, and it just, you could spread out, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, definitely.
Yeah, I spent a lot of hours over there.
Yeah, me too, until I got forbidden, but that's okay. don't smoke, kids. That's true. That's the lesson. That's the lesson I learned, right?
It's good. It's good.
The problem was like 10 years after I got in trouble for it, but I learned it.
Yeah. Now, okay, last one. Were you part of the creative writing club? Because I seem to think you did go occasionally, but maybe not.
I went to like a meeting or two. The Pencil Breath
Society. See? Aha.
It's just because PBS.
Yeah.
PBS.
That's exactly why.
That was Mike Harrison's group, right?
Yeah.
And
Lisa was in it. Ryan was in it. Rick was in it.
Ryan was in it. Rick was in it. Nathan was in it.
Yep.
I was, dude. I was the kid that was in all the honors classes until I dropped out because my grades suffered, because school became a social tool for me. For a whole host of reasons that you guys aren't my therapist, and I'm getting tired, and I don't want to.
Happened to me.
But
right.
But I was not. I attended, as far as I know, one meeting of it. I loved it. I mean, I was always a creative writer. I think I was so always just wanting to be off, just, I don't know, just out of school, just getting off the ground.
Yeah.
Then I had to go and do all those creative things like outside it, like, I don't know why.
Right.
I don't know why I saw it as such a, monumental, another brick in the wall kind of moment, right? But I don't know, because there were certainly plenty of teachers that didn't make it feel like that,
Right. Well, Mr. Harrison definitely being one of them.
Oh, Mike was the bomb, man, and he was like a great musician. He, like, the rumor was, I'm pretty sure it's true, that he knew Cheech and Chong. He hung out with them.
Oh yeah,
he hung out with Cheech, I believe.
And he was my guitar teacher, I'll have you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, he was awesome. I remember when we did Godspell in high school for one of the years in the musical. He was the guitar player in the pit. Oh, that was such a great band when you had Reno in there and you had Andy Russell in there. It's so fun. I don't know about you, but I'm Facebook friends with my old high school teachers.
Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah,
and I have more in common with some of them than I do with some people in my That's how cool they were. They were cool. They were cool people, man.
We had there was a lot of really good teachers in Big Bear.
There were.
Well, it seems like a cool, like, for a teacher, that would probably be a cool little play. You go to this mountain town and you're in the like the nature, and like if you're like that's a pretty cool gig.
You get
like,
the summers off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mike was definitely to me the best English teacher there. But I never had Rice. And I heard that he was pretty.
I didn't either. I actually never had Harrison for a regular class, just for guitar and the creative writing club.
What did you have in your AP English class or your honors English classes?
I had Ricuti.
Oh yeah.
She got married and became Stalkup. And then
did she marry a stall cup?
Yeah. And then Mrs. Parks.
Mrs. Parks. Yeah.
So
she was a taskmastress.
Oh man, but I'll tell you what though, after having her and writing, hundreds of pages every week for her, when I got to college and I'm like, oh, 10-page paper, that's it? All right.
Yeah, I had those teachers too, the ones that, because people now are like, oh, kids, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Some of my high school teachers, like, I had those teachers that made us write AP essays every morning and like all that crazy stuff. And so like some of them do prepare you over, and like that's good because
it's so different now though. It's so different now. My nephew went to Stanford and he was just telling me like the AP credits hardly even transfer anymore. And just the level of work. I mean, and he definitely, like, the high school he went to was definitely geared more towards, the students.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine what it's like in my high school now because it was crazy competitive when I was there, and I know everything's just been ramped to like I mean,
ridiculous levels.
Well, like my friends that are teachers, or like my friend is still a youth pastor, and he's like, I can't do stuff in the middle of the week at all because nobody will come because people they're too damn busy. Like they're too busy. It's so different.
Yeah. I mean, everything changes, man. The
internet,
who would have thought that when I was, logging into like, Prodigy even way back in the day. And
I know.
What was it? Oh, I can't even remember.
Well, CompuServe, AOL.
Yeah, CompuServe. Yeah,
Juno.
We were CompuServe family for a while. AOL was huge, but who would have, like, I was that nerdy kid in high school, like logging into AOL and in chat rooms and stuff.
And here we are broadcasting a comedy show over the internet.
Isn't that great?
It's amazing. It's awesome. I love it. Awesome. It makes me, it vindicates me for all the crap that I put up with for like people being like, well, including this guy, like, oh, what are you doing?
That was nice about it. I just didn't understand it. I had no idea what you were talking about. But then
for the people that were like, I mean, like, because I was that kid in elementary school, like I remember we had one computer that had a modem, and I would like go on like BBSs and stuff, and I remember getting punched for that and like all this stuff, and just being like, the geeks won. We won.
They always do. Technology always wins because that's what innovates.
Yep, that's right.
All right, guys.
Well, we need to get James to bed here. And
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anytime, man. Anytime. That was so much fun. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we'll definitely do this again because I know we can. Between the two of us, we can come up with some more good memories.
Right.
So,
well, I'm sure people are wondering. So, what is your URL, your Twitter, all that stuff? Where can people find you?
Let's see. So. That's politicalgarbagechute.com, and from there you can get to our Facebook page. You can just find us by looking up the Political Garbage Chute, obviously. But that's where that's the best thing to find that at. And maybe we can get together in another couple months because I just literally got back from a pre-production meeting on like another new project that I'm doing that should be pretty interesting and fun. So.
Nice,
awesome, definitely. Anytime, you're always welcome.
Yeah, for sure.
You are officially a friend of the show.
You're in.
Cool. Thanks so much, guys.
Well, thank you, James. Thank you. And sorry. Anything else?
No. I just realized that's probably post-production talk, so we can talk about that.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Well, be sure to thank you in advance. I guess the Kickstarter. We'll talk about it. Well, Friday, by the time we record on Friday,
have another show before.
We'll have another show before, but
thanks
Kickstarter.
Again.
Thanks again, Phil. I hope you're having a good vacation.
Yeah, I'm having a great time in Montana.
Fill us in. Are you going to be filling us in from Facebook when you can?
I'm sure. Oh yeah, of course.
Unless you're
if they have internet up there, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, Craig from the Res.
Yeah.
He knows how to hook you up there.
That'll be good.
But everybody, be sure to go to radiobrendo.com for all the latest stuff.
Facebook,
etc. All that junk. And listen to all the Benview Network shows, benviewnetwork.com. And I think that's it.
Yeah, that's good. Good for a special episode.
Good for a special edition. And we appreciate everybody listening, and we'll check you back. What does that mean?
And you're getting tired too.
We'll
check you back.
Well, it's been like 100 degrees today. So it's like extra effort just to do anything.
That's good.
I went shopping.
You went shopping.
Yeah, that was my highlight of my unemployment day. Is going to the store and seeing all those old Ukipens. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, James. And for Radio BrendoMan, I'm Brendan Creasy.
And I'm Phil Vecchio.
Have a good one, everybody. All right.
Hey,
That was awesome. Thank you, James.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I had to cut early, man. I just